Part 60. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 591. The busiest people at this meeting are the staff in charge of the live broadcast room. Not only do they have to film the entire dinner party like a movie or TV show, they also have to respond to the requests of the audience in the live broadcast room from time to live broadcast and pay attention to some of the fights that happened at the dinner party, or face to face there was discord, and even the incident of hiding a knife in a smile. Zhou Lingyu and Tan Yumo collaborated on movies before, and didn't they promote a good sister relationship? But after I observed them for a while, they didn't say a word. Isn't it true that they have a good sister relationship? It's all about marketing, whoever believes it is a fool. Zhang Kaiwan is really acquainted with him. Now he is starting to hook up with the young master of the Xie family. He is so popular that it is impossible not to accept it. He himself seems to be from the second generation of wealth. Although he is not as good as these young masters from big families, there should be no shortage of common topics. Suyin felt a little lonely. She was drinking alone in her seat. She didn't go out to communicate and no one came to see her. She has such a personality that she is relatively indifferent to everyone. The only one she can chat with, Queen Shi, was not present this time. As long as you feel comfortable, you don't have to worry about too much. Quick, 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 camera, the camera moved to Zhang Lingzi. The girl looked at her phone and felt her whole body change. Look where she is going. It feels like something big is going to happen. Several barrages mentioned Zhang Lingzi, and the camera obediently captured the person. Look at it, isn't it? Sister, I am walking this way, and I feel the momentum to go on an expedition. Where are we going? That direction seems to be the super VIP seat. It seems that the direction where the eldest lady was photographed before is over there. I have a bold guess. Don't say it, I have it too. Cao Xinyan put down the hairdryer with an ugly expression. She has a delicate appearance, and this time she asked her stylist to help her borrow a white haute couture dress. It looks good, but if it is accidentally stained by alcoholic drinks and the like, and you just wash it with water, it will still leave traces. Looking at the direction Zhang Lingzi went in the live broadcast room, it was very likely that she was looking for Mr. Shen. When the two of them meet, there will be no chance for her. After scolding Zhang Lingxian again in her mind, she gritted her teeth and said, "Never mind. The lights at the venue are a bit dim, so you can't see anything unless you get close." Thinking about running out. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. The mystery will be revealed soon. Zhang Lingzi, who was walking in front of the camera, suddenly stopped. I then raised my head and looked straight in the direction of the camera. Shuer smiled slightly. The barrage then went silent. This smile is pretty, but why do I feel my scalp is numb? Well, it turns out I'm not the only one who feels this way. I seem to understand a sentence from this look and smile, look again, kill without mercy. Haha, the previous summary is in place. After the camera paused for a moment, it obediently and cowardly chose to move away. The tall black figure could not be seen, and the staff and the audience in the live broadcast room breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Lingzi continued to walk forward. The photo she just received seemed to have been taken secretly by that girl Su Ling'an. Fortunately, the ones who took the secret photos were none other than Shen Yunqing, and the eldest lady of the Gu family who paid an exorbitant price to take photos of the jade pendant and rosewood chair. She thought the young lady simply liked old things, until she saw the posture and eyes of the man standing in front of Shen Yunqing in the photo. She was in such a hurry that she didn't have time to fully coax the person. She couldn't wait until now. But when it comes to coaxing people, she doesn't have the habit of doing it in front of thousands of eyes in the live broadcast room. The only thing I can do is to take the camera away first. Although Gu Jiantong hit a nail that was neither soft nor hard, Her own pride did not allow her to retreat so quickly. After gathering her mood, she tried to break through the opponent's defense network again. If even the rosewood chair is not considered part of my life, I have long heard from my elders that the Shen family in the imperial capital is one of the families with the longest inheritance. Now it seems that the reputation is indeed well deserved. I have been fond of all kinds of antiques since I was a child. I just don't know if I have the honor to appreciate Mr. Shen's other collections. This time Shen Yunqing finally raised his eyes and looked at the person in front of him. But before Gu Jiantong could feel happy in her heart, she met a pair of cold eyes. The words that were on his lips suddenly seemed to be frozen. Did she say something wrong again? Until another clear and strong voice sounded from one side, I don't mean to give up, but I don't like the pattern of the rosewood chair. Keeping it at home will take up space. It's better to sell it to someone who likes it and return it. Being able to do charity is the best of both worlds. Does Miss Gu understand this? Gu Jiantong suddenly turned her head to look at the person, her pupils shrinking. Although she knew Zhang Lingzi, she didn't take him seriously at all before meeting him in person. Zhou is just a little star in the entertainment industry. No matter how good his appearance and body are, he is still a plaything in the eyes of people like them. You don't even have to do it yourself, you can just wave your hand and give instructions. She never thought that Shen Yunqing would really marry such a person. It doesn't bring any benefits at all. It's okay for fun, but there's no need to marry someone home. Only people like her are the best candidates for marriage. To be honest, before coming here, she really had no idea about the suitable marriage partner her grandfather had chosen for her. But after meeting the real person, especially the way the other party refused her thousands of miles away, it aroused her unwillingness to admit defeat. Conquering such a man is much more interesting than those men who come up to you at the beck of call. Even almost forgot that Zhang Lingzi was a stumbling block. No, the stumbling block was before meeting Zhang Lingzi. Now that they were face to face, their eyes met, and the aura she had cultivated over the past 20 years, she couldn't help but have the urge to go backwards. What a stumbling block! This is clearly a roadblock. Gu Jiantong forced a smile and said, "This must be Miss Zhang. You know what you're asking. Is this how Miss Gu learned her etiquette? She knows she's not welcome, but she still refuses to leave." Shen Yunqing silently sat inside when Zhang Lingzi came over to confront Gu Jiantong. The others lowered their heads and looked towards me, and said quickly, "Here you go, sit down. I just made tea." Zhang Lingzi stroked her skirt and sat down, then threw a handmade Lubin lock that she had just photographed at the charity auction into his arms. "I didn't untie it." Shen Yunqing handed over the teacup. "Let me give it a try." Zhang Lingzi picked up the teacup and took a sip. She looked up and saw Gu Jiantong still standing opposite. "Get out." Gu Jiantong looked at Shen Yunqing, who was studying Lu Bansuo with his head down, and then at Zhang Lingzi, who was drinking tea quietly. After a moment of distorted expression, he turned around and strode away. No one can bear this anger. Zhang Lingzi, well done. The three brothers of the Yuan family quietly watched. Ahem, what about that? Should we go talk to Miss Gu? Go and go. I'm not stupid. Only those who have no brains rush to hit the muzzle of the gun. Zhang Lingzi looked at the back of Gu Jiantong, who left angrily, squinted her eyes, and then turned her head to look at someone beside her who was seriously untying the Lubin lock. What is the origin of this Gu Jiantong? When they met face to face just now, she didn't think that this person's purpose was really just to fall in love with Shen Yunqing. Shen Yunqing, with bad intentions. Either to him or to the Shen family. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 592. The three brothers from the original family were about to turn around and leave. They don't have the shameless habit of watching young couples show off their affection. As for how to go back and deal with the old man, just say that Miss Gu is interested in the Shen family and doesn't like them. Although the taste of this melon is different from what I originally expected, it is undoubtedly more exciting. Just 2 words, satisfied? Cao Xinyan ran over and stopped panting. I felt a chill in my heart when I saw the 2 people sitting side by side not far away. They were in perfect harmony. Hurry up, is it still too late? So should we continue with the original plan? How should we continue now? Zhang Ziyu received Mr. Han's permission and was about to find a place to relax when he saw Cao Xinyan, who looked a little depressed. Looking at the girl's eyes again, it suddenly became clearer. As soon as your eyes roll, it comes to mind. She knew clearly that she would never be able to get in front of Shen Yunqing. She had never been able to do so before, let alone now. But now looking at the happy looks of the 2 of them, it still feels very eye-catching. It would also be good to add some congestion. Why is Miss Cao feeling so sad all by herself? Did something unhappy happen to her? I happen to be fine too, do you want to chat? Cao Xinyan turned around and saw that the person talking to her was Zhang Ziyu. She glanced at the camera and didn't see it. She simply didn't make a special expression and replied coldly, "It has nothing to do with you." After saying this, I wanted to stay away from this person. She doesn't want to be photographed standing with someone who likes to hang out on the red carpet. Zhang Ziyu saw her plan at a glance and simply reached out. The sister held her arm nicely, and when Cao Xinyan subconsciously wanted to break away, she leaned closer and whispered, "I know you admire that Mr. Shen." Cao Xinyan's movements suddenly froze, the deepest thoughts in her heart were peeled away, and uncontrollable panic appeared on her face. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, your knee-jerk reaction can't fool anyone. In fact, I think you are much more suitable than Zhang Lingzi." Cao Xinyan immediately forgot to struggle. "What do you mean?" "I really think so. You think about it, you are the granddaughter of Chairman Cao of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. You come from a family of artists. You have learned piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting since you were a child. Isn't this the standard configuration only a lady has? But as for Zhang Lingzi, a couple in her family are bankrupt. My parents haven't even graduated from college, so that face takes advantage of me. How else can I compare to you?" Seeing that Cao Xinyan was really thoughtful, Zhang Ziyu sneered inwardly and continued to be tempting. "Don't you think you are more qualified to be Mr. Shen's girlfriend than Zhang Lingzi?" I really. Well, isn't it going to be a live broadcast today? I'll find a way to get Zhang Lingzi away, and you can take the opportunity to go over and talk to Mr. Shen. As long as you find a way to get the camera to capture you in the same frame, then the audience won't believe whatever you say." Cao Xinyan's original plan was similar to this proposal. She didn't dare to think that she could have any relationship with Mr. Shen. She just wanted to borrow that person's popularity. But now being induced by Zhang Ziyu, he fell into a crazy state of mind. However, she still had a trace of reason left. "Today is just the first time we have met. Why would you help me?" Zhang Ziyu narrowed his eyes and smiled, "You can't stand Zhang Lingzi." Cao Xinyan's heart skipped a beat. Then I heard her next sentence, "It just so happens that I can't stand her either. I'm helping you just to vent my anger." Cao Xinyan believed this. After all, the person in front of me was still known as Little Zhang Lingzi when he first debuted. But who would be happy to be another person's trumpet instead of being unique? "Okay, I'll wait for you to get the person away. Then just take a look." After the 2 reached cooperation, they looked at each other, turned around and left as if nothing had happened. After a while, Zhang Lingxian walked out from behind a nearby crystal lampstand, looking at the direction the 2 left with gloomy eyes, and drank the red wine in his hand. She only realized it not long ago. When she was in the corridor, she felt disgusted when she saw that Zhang Ziyu. It turns out that this man's profile looks somewhat similar to Zhang Lingzi's. However, since the person Zhang Ziyu wants to deal with this time is Zhang Lingzi, she is still quite happy to provide some help to this person named Zhang. When Zhang Lingxian followed Zhang Ziyu and saw that she was about to use the little who was following her grandfather to get rid of Zhang Lingzi, she almost couldn't help laughing. Apart from the fact that this man's appearance is a bit displeasing to her, his way of doing things is really to her liking. Asterisk. Su Ling'an always kept in mind the instructions of her sister and grandpa when she came to the banquet, not to drink or run around, so she followed her grandpa closely. Especially after knowing that Zhang Lingxian was also at the banquet, she even picked up the wine glass and never put it down. Zhang Ziyu's initial plan was to bribe the on-site waiter and find a way to cause Su Ling'an to accidentally get a minor injury. In this case, Zhang Lingzi, as a good sister, will definitely pass. Then it will depend on Cao Xinyan's performance. The only thing I didn't expect was that the waiters transferred from the original family this time were very professional. She only vaguely revealed some specious meaning, and was decisively rejected. There is no other way but to do it yourself. Zhang Lingxian saw what Zhang Ziyu was planning to do and cursed silently that it was useless. Before that, Cao Xinyan talked about it in front of him, but did not expect this to be courageous and action. Just a minor injury from an accident would not be enough. She wished that Su Ling'an's girl would disappear completely. By then, her granddaughter would be gone, and her grandfather should recognize her as his granddaughter. Thinking of the look in his grandfather's eyes in the corridor that showed him he was too hasty to put aside the relationship, the cruel look in Zhang Lingxuan's eyes deepened. She didn't plan to do it herself this time. Since someone had ill intentions towards that bitch, she could use a borrowed knife to kill her. Su Ling'an was sitting obediently in a chair, listening to her grandfather appreciating calligraphy and paintings. From time to time, she glanced in the direction of her sister and brother-in-law, and twice she happened to look at her sister. Just as he was about to look over again, the corner of his skirt was gently pulled. She lowered her head and met a pair of big, bright eyes. The child was so cute that she couldn't help but touch the other person's head. "Kid, where are your parents?" "Sister, sister, my ball is gone, it rolled over there, I'm afraid of the dark and don't dare to pick it up." Su Ling'an followed the little guy's chubby fingers and looked in the direction of the open-air balcony in front. In fact, there are a few night lights, but the light is blocked by large plants, so it is indeed much darker than here. It is normal for children to be scared. Then just wait here and don't run around. My sister will go over and pick it up for you. Thank you, sister. You're welcome. Su Ling'an stood up with a smile, put down his wine glass and walked towards the balcony. Looking at Su Ling'an walking this way, Zhang Ziyu, who had quietly hidden in a corner of the balcony, suddenly felt happy. It's not in vain that she found a way to secretly kick the little guy's ball here, and then led the little guy to Su Ling'an. Wasn't he kind enough to come over and help search for it? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 593. While Zhang Lingzi was listening to Shen Yunqing talk about the Gu family's less than glorious family history, she glanced in the direction where Su Ling'an was sitting. The little girl accompanied the old man here. Although she could gain a lot of experience along the way, the old man had a lot of social interactions, so it was inevitable that he would not be able to take care of her sometimes. She had noticed that this girl had been sitting there for almost a quarter of an hour, and she didn't know how to come over to talk to her. Probably because he was afraid of disturbing her and Shen Yunqing. Being too sensible sometimes makes her feel helpless. But when I looked at it this time, I found that the person was no longer in that position. Instead, there was a child lying on a chair looking around. Huh. Shen Yunqing paused at the right time. What's wrong? Just when I was about to ask Anan to come over and sit, I found that she had been sitting there alone for a while, but now she disappeared again. Maybe he was asked to leave by Mr. Zhang. Zhang Lingzi also guessed the same. Just as she was about to look away, she saw Zhang Nashuan, who was holding a wine glass and talking to someone. There was no trace of that girl beside him. I'll make a video call to Anan. This girl doesn't know many people, so she can go anywhere by herself. The balcony is a bit dark, especially where it is blocked by plants. Su Ling'an searched for the child's ball for a while but couldn't find it. As soon as he turned on the flashlight of his phone, he saw a video call coming from his sister, and he clicked to connect it. Elder sister. Where are you? Why is it so dark? On the balcony, there is a child whose ball rolled this way. He is afraid of the dark. Please come over and help me find it. I asked you why you disappeared just now. Find the ball later and come over. Zhang Ziyu, who was hiding in the shadow of the corner, was startled when he heard Zhang Lingzi's voice suddenly coming from the balcony. The high heels under my feet moved unconsciously. Su Ling'an was listening to her sister's words carefully and didn't notice it. However, Zhang Lingzi noticed a different sound. Is there anyone else on the balcony? Su Ling'an looked around and said, No, no. Then hurry up and come back. I remember that the balcony over there is not sealed, so be careful of catching a cold. Well, I'll hang up first. Su Ling'an kept lowering his head to pick up the ball, but his eyes fell on a small piece of pink gauze exposed behind one of the potted plants. She had no idea that there would be a person hiding here. Seeing that the piece of clothes was motionless, some bad guesses suddenly popped up in her mind. You. She was about to ask if you were still awake and if you wanted to help, when her sister's panicked voice suddenly sounded from the video she was still holding on. Anan, get out of the way. At the same time, a huge sense of crisis came from behind. For a moment, Su Ling'an's body reacted faster than his brain, and he didn't care to think about the dirt on the ground that had been stepped on. He turned to one side and fell to the ground. The next second, maybe only half a second. Crash. The half-person high crystal lamppost wrapped in the balcony nightlight hit the spot where she was squatting just now. Even though Su Ling'an heard the warning in time, he didn't hesitate to hide, but the crystal lamppost hit the ground, shattered and splashed in all directions. It also made several cuts on Su Ling'an's legs and arms, and the little dress he was wearing. Not spared either. She couldn't help but hiss slightly, turned around, and saw only a figure leaving in a hurry. The voice of my sister's relief came from the mobile phone. Don't move there, I'll be there soon. Zhang Ziyu, who was still hiding in place, was dumbfounded now. She only planned to lure Zhang Lingzi here when Su Ling'an accidentally tripped her. But I never thought of taking someone's life on such an occasion. Forced herself to come to her senses, her first reaction was to leave quickly. If you stay here any longer, you will be used as a scapegoat. Some people actually use her as a gunman. Zhang Lingzi suddenly stood up from the chair, startling Shen Yunqing. Immediately afterwards, I felt a chilling aura beside me. Han stood up immediately. He didn't ask what happened, he just asked, "What do you want me to do?" Immediately arrange for a doctor to go to the balcony with medicine for trauma. Shen Yunqing didn't ask what he wanted to do, and nodded directly, "Okay, you go first, and I'll be there soon." Hurrying from the seat to the balcony just a few dozen meters, Zhang Lingzi also sent a message to Tong Yu, asking her to come immediately with the spare set of clothes. Tong Yu looked at the short line of words on the screen of her mobile phone and felt a bit like a storm was coming. She immediately put on her clothes and ran towards the venue. Anan. Sister, I'm fine. I just got a few small cuts from the splashed debris. Fortunately, the light here is dark and I can't see clearly, so I didn't even faint or bleed. Zhang Lingzi. You can still have this mentality of enjoying yourself in hardship, and it seems that you are not too frightened. I'm coming. There was a balcony in front of him, but Zhang Lingzi paused, glanced at Zhang Ziyu, who was hurriedly leaving, and frowned. Su Lingyan went to pick up the ball on the ground before, and the front camera of her mobile phone was almost pointing to the sky. Only then did she vaguely see the figure behind her preparing to cause trouble, and she didn't even think about warning him loudly. But that figure was much stronger than Zhang Ziyu, so he probably wasn't Zhang Ziyu. But this man's behavior simply attracted her to doubt. But Zhang Ziyu is not the focus now. Zhang Lingzi retracted her gaze and walked quickly to the balcony. The other side. Seeing Zhang Lingzi leave quickly, Cao Xinyan, who had been quietly paying attention, knew that Zhang Ziyu had succeeded and her opportunity had come. But soon she saw that Mr. Shen was also leaving with him. She was afraid that there would be no such shop after passing this village, so she had no time to prepare and quickly raised her feet to meet him. Mr. Shen, I am. Shen Yunqing is calling Mr. Yuan. This dinner is hosted by the Yuan family. In order to prevent accidents or sudden illness of the invited guests, a medical team is provided as standard. They also blocked the exits and checked the surveillance. The place where the accident happened is in this 3-acre area. It is easier to find anyone now than to find the original family members. Shen Yunqing called in person. Young Master Yuan broke out in a cold sweat, and his melon-eating mentality disappeared instantly. Mr. Shen, please rest assured. I will immediately send doctors and nurses to the balcony. The exit will be blocked immediately. The monitoring of the balcony location can be called up. If you dare to cause trouble on my original home territory, I guarantee that this person will. You can't run away. The last sentence even has a bit of teeth-gnashing flavor. Shen Yunqing hung up the phone and looked at the unimpressive person standing in front of him. The eyebrows are slightly wrinkled. If you are familiar with him, you can tell that he is obviously a little impatient. Who are you? No words could have a greater impact than these two words. Cao Xinyan almost burst into tears. She tried to retrieve her previous memories in front of her. I was doing calligraphy and painting before. If you have nothing else to do, please get out of the way. All the words in my stomach suddenly got stuck in my throat. Cao Xinyan looked at the figure who was leaving quickly, and it suddenly dawned on her that she was the self-righteous clown. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 594. The live broadcast continues, but the camera has avoided the area near the balcony. Zhang Lingzi arrived at the balcony and saw Su Lingyan, who was still lying on his side on the ground and did not dare to move. Just as he was about to walk over, he was reminded in turn, "Sister, be careful, there are broken crystal shards all around." He also took a picture of her with the flashlight that came with his cell phone. The broken crystals immediately reflected bright light, which also heralded danger. Zhang Lingzi, just take care of yourself. I made my sister worried. Walking steadily to Su Lingyan, Zhang Lingzi bent down and wrapped him in the blanket that he had just brought when he came over. At the same time, he touched the hand that was still holding the mobile phone light. You have to take some cold medicine later. Close your eyes and let me see your wound. Su Lingyan silently pulled the blanket back and covered her eyes, exposing her arms and calves that had begun to feel tingling. Zhang Lingzi used her mobile phone to illuminate it for her to check first, and then she breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I hid in time. There were only a few wounds caused by the fragments, and 2 fragments were shallowly embedded in the flesh. The area covered by the clothes was probably cut because the clothes were thicker. But he still managed to dodge in time. If he hadn't had time to dodge, something hard and fragile would have hit his head, and the consequences would have been disastrous. Thinking of this, Zhang Lingzi's eyes flashed with murderous intent. No matter who is doing it, whether he simply wants to harm Su Lingyan, or wants to deal with her by hurting Su Lingyan, don't even think about escaping. The doctor will be here soon. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 people in neat white uniforms hurried over. When they arrived, they saw the injured and immediately squatted down and began to deal with it. Zhang Lingzi stepped aside, turned around and saw Shen Yunqing walking over quickly, and gestured to the side. Shen Yunqing understood the idea, and the two of them walked behind a potted plant and started talking in a low voice. Have everything been arranged? Well, I called young Master Yuan, and the exit has been blocked. The dinner is not over yet, and anyone who rushes out at this time is suspected. The surveillance on the balcony is also being retrieved and will be delivered later. Zhang the old gentleman has also sent someone to inform him. Well, I think we can focus on Zhang Lingxian. She was there too. She came with someone. She is most hostile to Anan. Good. Zhang Lingzi hesitated. There's also Zhang Ziyu. When I first came over, I saw her near the balcony, and her expression didn't look right. Shen Yunqing nodded. All right. Hearing the doctor's voice, they both turned around. Zhang Lingzi brushed the branches of the potted plant next to her with the back of her hand, and suddenly paused. When she spread her hands in front of her, Shen Yunqing saw a small piece of pink gauze on her fingers. It was hung on a potted plant. It must have been accidentally hooked. It is very similar to the material of Zhang Ziyu's dress. As she spoke, Zhang Lingzi glanced at the potted plant behind her, then suddenly took a step back and looked up in the direction of the crystal lamp post. Zhang Ziyu. Even if this person didn't do anything, he definitely saw something at that time. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Zhang, please lend me a moment to speak. Zhang Nashuan turned his head to meet the eyes of the eldest son of the Yuan family, said excuse me to everyone, and walked to the other side. Before he could ask, young Master Yuan said, something happened to Miss Su. I'm sorry. Zhang Nashuan staggered immediately, and before he could finish hearing the apology, he asked, where are the people? Where are the Anan people? Young Master Yuan was so frightened that he quickly reached out to help him. He felt the old man's arm trembling in front of him. He immediately understood that the old man was probably thinking seriously, and quickly comforted him. On the balcony, fortunately, nothing serious happened to him, he just suffered a minor injury. Now, Miss Zhang and Mr. Shen have passed away, and the doctor is here. Please relax, relax. Don't let anything happen to you again because of his announcement. Zhang Nashuan shook off his hand and ran straight to the balcony. Young Master Yuan raised his hand and knocked on his forehead, then quickly raised his foot to catch up. When Zhang Nashuan walked quickly to the balcony, he saw that his granddaughter was wrapped in a blanket, and there were several band-aids on the exposed calf. Her figure swayed again, and she was trembling when she said, Anan. I'm fine, Grandpa, it's just that something was broken nearby, and there were a few small cuts from the splashed debris. By the way, a kid just asked me to pick up the ball for me, but I didn't have time to give it to him. Everyone looked at the small orange rubber ball in her hand. Young Master Yuan, who caught up, said, go to the lounge first, go to the lounge first, the nearest lounge is already vacant. Miss Su needs to have a good rest, don't worry about such trivial matters. I will return the ball, personally. On the way to the lounge, he was chased by the boss of the Bai family. Young Master Yuan, why don't you let the guests leave the banquet early? Something unexpected happened. Young Master Yuan felt a little pain when he saw the eldest son of the Bai family. The situation was not over yet. What was the Bai family going to do? My mother is old and wanted to go back to her old house to rest early, but she was blocked from leaving the exit. Let her go. Young Master Yuan looked at Zhang Lingzi, who spoke, and then at Mr. Shen, who didn't say anything. He immediately understood that he was listening to Miss Zhang. Took the mini intercom at his collar and said, let the Bai family leave. Hearing this, the boss of the Bai family looked at Zhang Lingzi with particularly complicated eyes. Is this really the Zhang Lingzi whose mother said at home that she was just a little star several times? They can leave only because of this person. Come here full of confusion and leave with mixed feelings. Forgot to even ask what happened. Although Zhang Lingzi was a little bit dirty with the old lady of the Bai family, things were so prioritized that she didn't bother to have any argument with this person at this time. Arrived in the warm lounge, Zhang Lingzi received a call from Tong Yu and clothes were delivered. She went to the door to pick up someone. When Tong Yu saw Zhang Lingzi, she immediately took a look at her whole body, and then breathed heavily and breathed a sigh of relief. What happened? Who needs clothes? Let's talk after you come in. Entering the lounge, Tong Yu knew who was about to change clothes at a glance. Su Linggan took off the blanket in the lounge. His dress was torn in many places and there were band-aids on his arms and calves. This. Sister Tong, help An change her clothes first. Tong Yu had no choice but to swallow her words and help Su Linggan go to the cubicle in the lounge to change clothes. Zhang Lingzi did not follow because copies of the surveillance near the balcony and the entire venue that Zhang Lingzi requested additionally were sent over. Connected to the huge LCD TV in the lounge, the images under multiple surveillance cameras in the venue suddenly fell into the eyes of everyone staying outside. You don't know how complicated it is when you are in it. This will be observed from a third party's perspective. Zhang Lingzi can think about everyone present. Cao Xinyan and Zhang Ziyu probably don't have much of a relationship, right? How could they chat together for so long? Huh. She just went to see you. Shen Yunqing nodded. I don't know what you were saying, so I left without listening. Zhang Lingzi tilted her head and glanced at him. Cao Xinyan, Zhang Ziyu, and Zhang Lingzi glanced at Zhang Nashuan who was sitting on the sofa next to her. Zhang Lingxian. Young Master Yuan, please inform these three people I want to meet them. Young Master Yuan, have you identified the suspect who killed Miss Su? The three of them must stay, and the others can leave if they want. Before watching the surveillance, she was just suspicious, but now, she was sure of it. These three people are all responsible for An's injury. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 595. President Cao took the water handed over by his granddaughter. He took a sip and asked, "Where did you go just now?" "An old man from the entertainment industry came over just now. He couldn't find anyone looking for you." Cao Xinyan suddenly felt guilty and regretful, and explained hesitantly, "Gang, I just met someone I could chat with, so I couldn't help but chat a few more words. Also in the entertainment industry." "Ah, yes. With your temper, I thought you were not suitable for the entertainment industry from the beginning. You have to join. Those who take the initiative to talk to you are doing it because of your background. Just listen to what they say to you. Don't let her. Follow me later and I will take you to meet a few people who can really help you." Cao Xinyan couldn't help but think of Zhang Ziyu. Could it be that Zhang Ziyu came to her because of her grandfather's relationship and deliberately encouraged her to make her lose face in front of Mr. Shen? But before President Cao could finish his granddaughter's filial glass of water, a man wearing the original family security uniform walked up to them and stopped. "Miss Cao, our eldest young master and Miss Zhang invite you to come over." President Cao raised his eyes in surprise. "Young master? Which Miss Zhang? Why do they suddenly want to see Xinyan?" Cao Xinyan had just taken a glass of low-alcohol sparkling wine and before she had a chance to drink it, her fingers trembled and she knocked the glass over. The wine immediately spread all over the table, making the sound of bursting bubbles. Just like her guilty conscience, it fermented suddenly. President Cao turned around when he heard the voice and saw his granddaughter's panicked expression, and his heart suddenly sank. It doesn't look like anything good happened. I immediately put down the cup and stood up. I'll go with Xinyan. But the guard didn't give him any face this time. I'm sorry, President Cao. The eldest young master and Miss Zhang only invited Miss Cao. Please don't embarrass us subordinates. Xinyan, what did you do just now? Even the eldest young master of the Yuan family was alarmed. As you can imagine, it was no small matter. Seeing that her always respected grandpa was treated so rudely this time, Cao Xinyan didn't know where she got the courage to stand up and said, "I'll go with you." She just mustered up the courage to stop Mr. Shen and say a few words. How could it have caused much consequences? Even if this is the territory of the Yuan family, young Master Yuan and Zhang Lingzi can't lynch her. The same scene happened in two other places. With surveillance and on-site footage, even if the two people deliberately hide, it will still be easy to find them as long as they stay within the original home's territory. What's more, in order to suppress their guilty consciences, Zhang Ziyu and Zhang Lingxian, instead of hiding, were socializing openly with Mr. Han and Mr. Ho respectively. The guard who came over came to the two of them and said exactly the same lines as his colleagues. It's just that the guard standing in front of Zhang Ziyu also had something in his hand that Zhang Lingzi gave him. As soon as the things appeared, Zhang Ziyu's expression suddenly changed. Mr. Han was interrupted. What's going on? Why did young Master Yuan come to you specifically? You just made an excuse to take a rest, could it be? No, no, Zhang Ziyu hurriedly denied, I am. The eldest young master and Miss Zhang are waiting impatiently. Please ask Miss Zhang to come with me as soon as possible. Without that piece of clothing, Zhang Ziyu could still defend himself a few words. But now, on the one hand, she was questioned by Mr. Han, who had finally gotten close to her, and on the other hand, the guards were aggressive. She didn't know how to explain it, and she felt that no matter how she explained it, it would not be good. Forget it, I'll go over there with you and take a look. The eldest young master and Miss Zhang only have Miss Zhang, please forgive me, Mr. Han. Zhang Lingxian was directly glared at by second Master Ho. Are you causing trouble again? I didn't, Zhang Lingxian shook his head. Did you find the wrong person? There is no mistake also, Ms. Zhang, your grandfather is also with the eldest young master and Miss Zhang. As soon as second young master Ho saw Zhang Lingxuan's expression, he knew that she was not telling the truth. Although it was still unclear what stupid thing this woman had done, now that young Master Yuan had even asked her about it, it was definitely not a trivial matter. He immediately shook off Zhang Lingxuan's hand holding his arm and said, take the person over. He is now tired of being such a troublemaker, and he is happy to have some peace and quiet when someone helps him to deal with it. Second young master. Zhang Lingxian was dragged away in disbelief. Three people gathered in the lounge corridor. After looking at each other, their faces went numb. The door to the lounge was pushed open, and the three of them walked in a row. Zhang Lingzi was looking at the clothes Su Linggan had just changed. Anan looks good in this outfit. Tong Yu had already roughly understood what happened before when she helped Su Linggan get dressed. It's quite impressive, just suitable for this occasion. Sit down. After letting Su Linggan sit down next to her, Zhang Lingzi turned to look at the three people who walked in. We came together. Just in time, close the door. The sound of closing the door sounded. Cao Xinyan was barely the calmest among the three, and she felt somewhat confident. Grandpa would never leave her alone when he was outside. Zhang Ziyu's calves trembled, looking at the scene in front of her that looked like a three-chamber trial. If there was a regret pill in front of her, she would swallow it immediately. I just wanted to put Zhang Lingzi in trouble, look what she ran into. But the most unbearable person is Zhang Lingxian. There was Shen Yunqing in front of her who pierced her palm with a table knife without hesitation, and there was her grandfather who was staring at him with a pale face under the light. When they entered the door, neither of them could stand still. He was wearing 10-centimeter high heels and directly kicked his feet. It hurt so much that I took a breath. But even so, she didn't see the slightest movement on her grandfather's face, and her heart suddenly felt cold. Zhang Lingzi looked at the performance of the three people after they came in. For the first time, his whole body's aura was poured out without any suppression at all. You say it yourself, or should I say it for you? The originally relaxed atmosphere in the lounge suddenly dropped to freezing point. Young Master Yuan, who was specially allowed to stay as the host, breathed softly subconsciously, and when he came to his senses, he realized that he had stood up from the sofa. Tongyu and Tongyu, who also stood up, looked at each other subconsciously and opened their mouths, but did not dare to make a sound. The people next to him were like this, let alone the three people who were stared at by Zhang Lingzi. For the first time, they experienced from a person the feeling of being overwhelmed by mountains and drowning in the deep sea. It was obvious that air was everywhere, but they didn't know how to breathe. The first person who couldn't stand it was Zhang Lingxian, who was being taken care of. The sprained ankle no longer hurt, and the whole person was filled with huge unknown fear. When those abyss-like eyes looked at him, his legs went weak out of control, and he fell to his knees with a bang. On the ground. Had she not gone to the toilet not long ago, she felt that she would have peed right on the spot. A broken-down cry echoed in the lounge, I was wrong, I kowtow, don't kill me. Mr. Yuan took a breath and expressed that he was greatly shocked. So you can still ask questions like this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 596. Zhang Lingzi was really angry. Having experienced too much in her previous life, she thought that no one or anything in this life would really make her feel angry. The result is something you can't think of, no one else can do it. No one can remain calm under such momentum, and it is even difficult to stay calm. Shen Yunqing touched the ink jade ring on his hand, and his face was as calm as ever. The previous knife was too light for Zhang Lingxian. By the time Cao Xinyan finished repeating the previous conversation with Zhang Zia word by word, her entire face was already turning red. Mainly because of embarrassment, because after all, the person he had unrealistic and delusional ideas was sitting across from him, looking at him coldly. There was also the horror and guilt of learning what Su Linggan had suffered. Even if she wanted to shirk it, she had to admit that she was the one who accidentally made a push that hurt others, and her hands were really not clean. Facing the current Zhang Lingzi, she had no idea of asking her grandfather for help. Grandpa may not even be able to withstand it. Zhang Lingzi raised her eyes and looked at her, how are you doing? After nearly a minute of silence, Cao Xinyan walked up to Su Lingyan who was sitting on the sofa with a purple-red face that was slightly swollen and smoky. She bent down deeply and said, Miss Su, I'm sorry. I am willing to do this. Quit the entertainment industry and never appear in front of anyone here again. Also, I will pay for your medical expenses and mental damage. With Zhang Lingzi in the entertainment industry, she no longer dares to hang out, otherwise she will be reminded of the fear of being ruled and completely suppressed every moment. She didn't have the shame to appear in front of these people. You're quite sincere. Zhang Lingzi pointed in the direction of the door, get out. Cao Xinyan immediately felt as if she had finally escaped from death, and couldn't wait to open the door and rush out. Soon, all the strength in his body seemed to be drained, and he leaned against the wall without collapsing. A hand held her. Xinyan. Grandpa, wow. Why are you crying? Did they feel wrong to you? Grandpa went to argue with them. No, don't, I'm just a little scared. I'm afraid, Grandpa will take you home. Do you still want to meet your seniors in the entertainment industry? No, no need, Grandpa, I want to quit the entertainment industry. I want to go to that foreign art school you mentioned. Let's talk about it when we get home. Grandpa, please help me, my legs are weak. Outside the lounge, the grandfather and grandson helped each other and left. In the lounge, Zhang Lingzi's eyes once again passed over Zhang Lingxian, who was shaking on the ground, and landed on Zhang Ziyu. The room was clearly heated, but Zhang Ziyu couldn't help but shiver. Just tell me what you saw. Zhang Ziyu subconsciously glanced at the top of Zhang Lingxuan's head. Then he met Zhang Lingzi's seemingly gentle eyes and said, I was hiding behind the potted plant and saw Zhang Lingxian pushing the crystal lamppost in the direction of Miss Su. Sure. Very good. Mr. Yuan, the crystal lamppost weighs dozens of kilograms. This is considered intentional homicide. Please report it to the police. No. Before Mr. Yuan could say anything, Zhang Nashuan stood up abruptly. Zhang Lingxian suddenly seemed to have seen a life-saving straw, and crawled over on his knees to ask him to intercede for him. Grandpa, I know I was wrong. I don't dare to do it anymore. I can't go to jail. If I go to jail, I will really be finished. Zhang Lingzi saw her crawling forward and almost pressing on Su Lingan's feet. She frowned slightly and kicked her over mercilessly. This man has no repentance even now, only unwillingness. Zhang Lingxian was kicked until she rolled to the ground several times before she stopped. She had always been pampered and was unwilling to go out to find a job even if she was a beggar at home. Even if they were not scratched after these rolls, they still had a few more holes in their bodies. Visible scrapes and bruising. Young Master Yuan couldn't help but glance at Zhang Lingzi secretly. He felt that the sleep was heavier than that of his professionally trained bodyguard. Zhang Nashuan sat back down again, covering his heart. He forced his voice out of his throat, then, I'll trouble you, young Master Yuan. Okay, I'll do it right away. It has to be done in secret. There are so many celebrities and celebrities from all walks of life outside, and there are at least millions of people watching in the live broadcast room. If it really makes a big fuss, it will make headlines. Their original family cannot afford to lose this face. Just when Zhang Ziyu couldn't help but want to breathe a sigh of relief, the devilish voice sounded in his ears again. Zhang Ziyu. She responded subconsciously, yes. Zhang Lingzi tilted her head and gently pressed her temples, and said in a calm tone, I've tolerated you long enough. But what Zhang Ziyu heard sounded like a reminder, and his already pale face suddenly turned pale again. Thinking of the promise Cao Xinyan made before being released, she said, I understand. Double, 10 times. Good. Stay and make a personal statement later. Zhang 11, who was already ready to run away, said. This is to squeeze out the last bit of her value. But does she dare to say anything? She didn't dare. She suspected that the bitter taste in her mouth was because bile was flowing back from her gallbladder. Asterisk. Gu Jiantong walked around the venue and came back. When she turned around, she saw that the seat next door was empty. Where have all the people gone? I have been walking for a while, walking in front and back. Has anyone from the original family come over? No. Strange, Gu Jiantong pointed her finger at the table. She took down the 2 final items today, and also showed the Gu family's sign. As the host, the Yuan family should send someone to come over and say hello to her. These 2 are so unlucky. Miss, do you want to leave early? Hold on. Also a little confused were Zhang Kaiwen and the audience in the live broadcast room. I haven't seen Sister 11 for a while. Where has she gone? The live broadcast camera seems to have missed Zhang Lingzi for a while. Did I accidentally miss it? I didn't see it either. Could it be that you left the venue early? At this moment, major fashion influencers and marketing accounts have begun to comment and market this red carpet makeup look. Sister 11 is obviously the best, but why are there so few shots? What are the company and agents doing? Lu Zhengzheng and others who stayed in the staff lounge, they also wanted to know what Sister Zixi and Sister Tong were busy with right now. The call was hung up just now. The police who received the report were invited all the way in from the dedicated private elevator and directly into the lounge, without anyone noticing at all who were attending the dinner outside. Including the evidence collection on the balcony, it was also an excuse that the balcony circuit was faulty and needed to be repaired. The entire evidence collection process was extremely private. After Zhang Ziyu completed the witness notes and was released, he felt that his whole body was covered in cold sweat. She actually didn't see the face of the man pushing the crystal lamp holder clearly on the balcony. The light was dim and she was nervous about the other person and deliberately concealed it. In fact, what she saw was not much more than Su Ling'an. But when Zhang Lingzi looked towards her, she knew that she had to say this. She didn't dare to think about the consequences of not following the instructions. Before Mr. Han came over, Zhang Ziyu picked up the hem of her skirt, avoided everyone's eyes, and hurriedly left the dinner venue. She didn't want to stay any longer where Zhang Lingzi was. Zhang Ziyu witnessed it with his own eyes. The fragments of the crystal lamp holder were still on the balcony and had not been cleaned up. The witnesses and physical evidence were all there. Even if Zhang Lingxian wanted to deny it, he couldn't. In the end, he could only struggle and was buckled with a pair of silver bracelets and quietly escorted away. Zhang Lingzi watched her being taken away. One last thing to trouble Mr. Yuan. You say. Send a car to take Mr. Zhang and back first. Okay, I'll let the deputy captain of my bodyguard team drive the car himself, and I'll make sure to send them home safely. Just watch them lie down in bed and come back to life again. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 597. Go back and have a good rest. Zhang Lingzi rubbed Su Ling'an's head and warned him, then leaned closer and lowered her voice. By the way, I asked Zhang Ye to pay more attention to the old man. I know, sister. Zhang Nashuan paused when he walked to Zhang Lingzi. Looking at the girl in front of her who was only a few years older than her granddaughter, her eyes were more complicated than ever. This person helped him recognize his granddaughter who had been missing for more than 10 years, but also personally sent his own granddaughter, whom he had doted on for nearly 30 years, to prison. For a moment I really didn't know how to deal with it. Zhang Lingzi met his gaze and nodded slightly calmly. Old man, walk slowly and pay attention to your health. Girl An's biological father doesn't know whether he is dead or alive yet. As a biological grandfather, it is best for him to be strong and stay with the child for a few more years. Zhang Nashuan finally said nothing and followed the bodyguards who came to the grandfather and grandson away. Tong Yu also wisely said goodbye. I'll go back and tell Zheng Zheng and the others. They might be worried if I don't go back for so long. At the same time, she swallowed back the bow she was used to calling during this period. Ever since Zhang Lingzi received strong support from Shaw Brothers Entertainment and her business ability has improved greatly, she privately called her bow and felt that it was better than calling her Xiao 11, so she kept calling her over. But now, looking at those eyes that have regained their full momentum but still have a bit of strong eyes, the word bow is inexplicably hard to say. Good. Then came young Master Yuan. I'll leave this rest room to you two. I'm going out too. Zhang Lingzi nodded politely. This time, I won't be in trouble for young Master Yuan. No trouble, no trouble. Young Master Yuan waved his hand quickly. It should be. After coming out, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. It's solved. Fortunately, although Miss Su was injured, her injuries were not serious. Otherwise, he would really not dare to think about what would happen to the 3 people involved in the calculation. Brother, why are you here? I've been looking for you for a while. Young Master Yuan saw his eldest brother and ran over quickly. When he got closer, he noticed the sweat on his forehead. Then he looked at the closed door of the lounge behind him. I thought wrongly, you. The 2 brothers looked at each other, and young Master Yuan guessed that what his younger brother was going to say next would definitely not be good. In the flash of lightning, she raised her hand and covered his mouth. Shut up. There are Mr. Shen and Miss Zhang inside. What are you thinking in your pig's head? Second young Master Yuan opened his eyes and nodded quickly, then pulled away his eldest brother's hand. I asked why Mr. Shen and Miss Zhang are not seen outside. It turns out they went to rest. The eldest daughter of the Gu family asked me just now. Brother, I didn't expect that. The eldest lady of the Gu family is quite persistent, she doesn't really want to be with Shen. Not 2 minutes after he let go, his mouth was covered again. This time, young Master Yuan did not tolerate his younger brother and slapped him on the back a few times. You'd better stop talking. By the way, I think it's necessary I'll give you a piece of advice. Yuan Ershao blinked, and a small question mark appeared on his forehead. Young Master Yuan took a deep breath, looked at his younger brother seriously, and said in a deep voice, remember, don't mess with Miss Zhang. Yuan Ershao, brother, did you say it wrong? It should be Mr. Shen, right? I know this even if you don't tell me. That's right, it's Miss Zhang. If you accidentally offend Mr. Shen, you may still have some room for maneuver, but if you offend Miss Zhang, you'll be destroyed by the group. If it weren't for the lack of surveillance in the lounge, young Master Yuan would have had to let his younger brother, who has always been outspoken, experience the suffocating feeling that he had experienced from Zhang Lingzi before. Yuan Ershao. What exactly has his brother experienced during this period of time? Asterisk. In the lounge. Zhang Lingzi leaned her back gently on the back of the sofa, closed her eyes slightly, raised her hand and pinched her eyebrows. She noticed some movement on her side. Before she could turn her head to look over, she noticed 2 cool fingers falling on her temples, and started to rub them slowly with moderate force. Her head, which had been a little hot due to anger, began to slowly cool down, and she couldn't help but sigh in comfort. Yunqing. I am here. Idiots are terrible, and their actions can cause great harm. Shen Yunqing, makes sense. Have you noticed that Anan, this girl, has been in quite a lot of troubles, and this time she mostly suffered on my behalf, along with Jinan. The following words were not spoken, but the other person left in the room could understand them, and he was the only one who could understand them. So, I'm going to take her to the temple to burn incense before the end of the year. You and Wuju have a good relationship. Do you know if there is a temple near the imperial capital that is more effective in keeping peace? Shen Yunqing, I'll ask him later. After chatting for a while, Zhang Lingzi felt that her mood had almost returned to normal from a low-pressure state. She waved her hands and stood up to show that she had been resurrected with full blood. I've been gone for long enough. The dinner party is probably about to end, so let's go out for a walk. The 2 of them came out of the lounge one after the other. Gu Jiantong, who had been alerting people to signs of Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing, soon received a report that the 2 came out of the same lounge, and his eyebrows suddenly darkened. Growing up in a family with prosperous and competitive offspring like the Gu family, and being valued by the old man of the Gu family, who personally selected the head of a heavyweight family like Shen Yunqing to be his future grandson-in-law, Gu Jiantong has a character that refuses to admit defeat. If Zhang Lingzi were an ordinary little star who loves vanity, she would have thousands of ways to deal with people without leaving a trace. Even if the other party has really good character and attractive qualities, it is just a little more difficult for her. But the real Zhang Lingzi she saw was different from any of the above. This is a woman who directly breaks all the stereotypes she has about women. Obviously he is just a small star in the entertainment industry, and his family background is not very good. He can even be called miserable. He has not graduated from college. Such a configuration can be said to be worse than that of ordinary people. Normal people will have a bit of inferiority complex. This has nothing to do with appearance. But she didn't feel inferiority at all from Zhang Lingzi. Her demeanor and aura seemed to be innate and powerful. When faced with this momentum, even beauty becomes insignificant. How can a person have such strong confidence? This is what she can't figure out, whether she's alive or dead. However, evenly matched opponents are more interesting, aren't they? Winning will also give you a greater sense of accomplishment. Let's look at the statistics. How many fans and popularity have I gained on various platforms now? How far behind is I compared to John Lindsay? Since the entertainment industry is John Lindsay's career, she would like to try to see how John Lindsay would resist being crushed by a higher level. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 598. Sister 11, you finally showed up. Where have you been? I haven't seen you for a long time. John Lindsay took a glass of red wine from the tray held by the waiter and looked at John Kaiwan, who was approaching. What, do you have a problem with me? Before, we talked about going to attend an international fashion festival. It's only a few days away. Sister 11, are you busy with work during this time? Do you want to join in the fun? John Lindsay clinked glasses with John Kaiwan. That's the question, are you going to? John Kaiwan suddenly looked sad. It seems that Sister 11 really didn't follow my account updates. I sent all the invitations I received. John Lindsay didn't feel any guilt on her face. I don't even bother to look at my own account. Why would I go out of my way to look at yours? John Kaiwan. He believed this. As a young man with severe internet addiction, although he doesn't spend as much time scrolling through his mobile phone as he does playing games, he basically goes to major platforms every day to check out gossips and what's going on with other celebrities. Everyone is quite active, only a few are growing grass. John Lindsay is definitely the youngest among them. I suspect that when you are not working, you live the life of an elderly person. No, you live the life of a veteran coder. These days, even the elderly are very active in playing certain music. When he played the game, he even matched up with several retired old men and old ladies, and he played the game so smoothly and neatly. John Lindsay thought about what she had done in her free time before. The balcony, drank the sun to drink tea and read the book. The Lake Hart Pavilion, fishing, and when the interest came, he would pull Shen Yunqing to talk about a game. If Shen Yunqing had no time, there was a summer solstice barely to make up. These things can kill half a day without even realizing it, and she feels quite comfortable anyway. How could I have so much free time in my previous life? There were games, but not many. She couldn't play the ones that took a long time. The strategy games were too easy to clear. The team games were tiring when she encountered pig teammates or were too sensitive. I lost interest after 2 games. Thinking of this, she nodded towards John Kaiwan. Absolutely. John Kaiwan. He felt that he might have made a mistake by not listening to his agent's advice and insisting on finding John Lindsay to form a team. I also want to ask you if you want to go to the International Fashion Festival for a walk together. I guess you. Actually, he also has some selfish motives of his own. As long as Sister 11 doesn't disclose who her other half is, he feels that he still has some chance. Moreover, the agent knew his intentions before and objected directly, but now he has nothing to say. It's not necessary. John Lindsay refused bluntly, and a flash of hurt suddenly flashed across John Kaiwan's face. Before John Lindsay could explain, someone beside him couldn't stand it. Miss Zhang is a bit too unkind. Brother Kaiwan invites you kindly. Even if you don't want to go, you can just say that you have work and can't spare time. There's no need to refuse so directly. It's better to be careful with your words. John Lindsay and John Kaiwan both looked at the speaker. The first one to explain was John Kaiwan. Senior Joe, you misunderstood. Sister 11 and I have become familiar with each other, and we are used to the way we speak. Sister 11 treats me as one of my own, so she can speak directly. There is no need to make excuses to reject me. Emotions, is it because she is nosy? Zhou Lingyu was so angry that her heart heaved. You can make trouble in private as you please, but this is a public place and the camera will be there at any time. Shouldn't you be more careful with your words? Senior Joe, are you making a fuss out of a molehill? Am I making a fuss? I'm doing it because of Zhang Lingzi glanced at the two people who were arguing in a low voice over some inexplicable trivial matter, took the last sip of wine, put down the glass and turned to leave. When the two people who stayed there finally got tired of arguing, they turned around and saw that Zhang Lingzi was nowhere to be seen. Zhou Lingyu looked at Zhang Kaiwen still eagerly looking for Zhang Lingzi's figure, and suppressed the sadness in her heart, but as soon as she got a little bit of heat, she will run wild when she gets her ambition. I want to see how far she can go. Asterisk. Ling 11, please excuse me, it's taking a long time. I'm really sorry, I got stuck temporarily because of something, and I ask for your forgiveness, seniors. Fortunately, the old-timers present all liked polite children, so they smiled and shook their heads after hearing this. Old Cao also had something to do temporarily, so he left early with his granddaughter. Zhang Lingzi also smiled, as if her grandfather and grandson's early departure had nothing to do with her. When the camera in the live broadcast room moved over, the audience watching in the live broadcast room immediately saw a certain missing person who stood out among the old men and women. Come on, Zhang Lingzi appears again. Why is this girl so mysterious? I feel like Zixi, who is surrounded by a group of elders, is a group favorite. The key is that she doesn't show any timidity at all. I like her confidence and energy. No one is curious about where people went during the nearly half an hour just now. Watching helplessly everyone who quickly occupied the barrage area as soon as someone appeared in the live broadcast room. What kind of magic power does Zhang Lingzi have? Mr. Han noticed that his female companion had not returned for a long time. When he took out his mobile phone and was about to call someone, he saw the message Zhang Ziyu had sent her a few minutes ago. Mr. Han, I am not feeling well and I can't hold on any longer and I'll leave first. I hope you'll forgive me. Mr. Han. He was immediately laughed out of anger. If this were true, he could swallow the phone. Is this what you have achieved after you have gone to great lengths to get here and become a female companion? If you don't believe it, forget it, there's nothing I can do about it. In the car, Zhang Yuding was temporarily called to sit next to Zhang Ziyu. Without paying attention, she saw her sending this message. She quickly reached out to grab it and growled in disbelief, "You are crazy, hurry up and give it to me, I withdraw." Maybe I'm crazy. Zhang Ziyu quickly shoved the phone under his butt, with a dull look on his face. Cousin, how many unexpired contracts do I have? There are not many left. I am thinking of a way, but you dare to offend Mr. Han. Have you thought about the consequences? Don't think about it. Zhang Ziyu shook his head at her, and the following words made Zhang Yuding almost stand up from the car, I'm going to leave the circle. What did you say? Zhang Ziyu, where are your ambitions? Wait, did something happen at the dinner? Zhang Yuding felt like she was going to explode, and even began to doubt who was pretending to be the person in front of her. I'm going to scratch the face in front of me. Zhang Ziyu quickly raised his arm to block her hand and murmured, Cousin, Zhang Lingzi is too scary. We all underestimated her before. I really don't want to go against her. Since the entertainment industry has her, then there is no me. Bar. Zhang Yuding simply turned around and told Xiao Tao, who was driving, don't go home yet, go to the private hospital you went to before. She had to get Zhang Ziyu admitted to a psychiatric hospital first, otherwise no one would be able to sleep tonight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 599. There are still many people who cannot sleep at night. Zhang Yuding wants to take Zhang Ziyu to the hospital to check for mental problems. Zhang Anfeng, who failed to get the invitation letter from his biological father, is taking his wife to watch the live broadcast in the living room. Finally, they waited for the camera to move away from Zhang Lingzi, whom they hated the most, and glanced at Ho Er-sheo, whom they had just met last night. Beside him was a charming-looking girl, but she was not his own daughter. Zhang Anfeng suddenly frowned. Where is Xian in our family? Why did she let other women take her place? She is so unsatisfied. As he said that, he picked up the mobile phone on the coffee table and wanted to make a call to ask. Before I clicked on the contact information, my phone vibrated first. A group of unfamiliar yet familiar numbers appear on the screen. It's strange because it's the first time I received this call. It's familiar because the last 3 digits of the number are recognized by even kindergarten children these days, Yao Yao 00. The couple looked at each other, muted the live broadcast on the TV, and then clicked to connect. Hello. Hello, is this Mr. Zhang Anfeng? This is the Baikan branch of the imperial capital. Your daughter was arrested by our bureau on suspicion of intentional homicide. But now she is crying and wants to see you. She has been suspected of obstructing official business. Do you have time to come over? So, intentional homicide. Zhang Anfeng hoped that this was just a scam call. My daughter was attending the UN family charity dinner. How could she kill someone? You must have hit the wrong person. Mr. Zhang is right, we arrested people at the dinner. Please come over as soon as possible, otherwise we will have to take coercive measures. Pop, was the sound of the phone hitting the hard marble floor. A few minutes later, the couple finally reacted and glanced at the dinner party that was still going on TV. They picked up their mobile phones and, without even bothering to change into decent clothes, took the car keys and trotted towards the door in their slippers. The backyard of Nashuan Private Painting and Calligraphy Museum. Zhang Nashuan drove Su Ling'an and Zhang Ye back to their room to rest. He sat in front of the window where he usually wrote and drew, lost in thought, until the rapid ringing of his cell phone shocked him out of consciousness. Looking at the number displayed on the phone screen, he reached out and clicked the call without any surprise. Tell me, what's the matter? Dad, are you still at the dinner party? What will happen at the dinner party tonight? Zhang Nashuan interrupted Zhang Anfeng before he could finish. Did the police station call you? Dad, you? Yes, I know, because I was also present at the time. I also know that Zhang Lingxian wanted to kill Anan. The evidence is conclusive. She can't escape if she attempts intentional homicide. The amount of information was so overwhelming that the couple waited for several minutes before Zhang Anfeng said quietly, Dad, Xian is your granddaughter, and you just watch her being taken away by the police. I don't need your reminder. So what about my granddaughter? How can I beat the law? Zhang Lingxian broke the law. What's more, there are Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing on the scene. Yes, yes. Okay, I'll give up. Let her learn a lesson. It's such a girl's family, but you and your wife are so stupid, and you still question me. Just as soon as he hung up the phone, he slumped down in his seat. In the other half of the car, Zhang Anfeng was staring blankly at the hung-up cell phone, and a hand reached out from the side and grabbed his face. Zhang, it's all your fault, my Xian, how can you go to jail at such a young age? Zhang Anfeng was caught off guard and was scratched by her with a cut that was almost 10 centimeters long. Feeling hurt and angry, he turned around and slapped her. It's all my responsibility, and you weren't the one who persuaded her to nod. You asked me to help persuade you. Did I say it? What did I say? That's not what you meant. The driver who was driving in front carefully glanced at the rear-view mirror in the car and silently raised the fenders of the front and rear seats. When they arrived at the police station, the policeman on duty became a little silent when he saw a couple with a few blood marks on their faces and a couple with slap marks on their faces. You two, follow me. Zhang Lingxian, who was led to the visiting room, saw his parents standing across a glass window, and immediately shouted desperately, Mom, Dad, save me, save me. Until he was imprisoned in the cold and dark detention center, Zhang Lingxuan's frightened mind finally came to his senses. He would make trouble no matter what, but he succeeded in making trouble when his parents came over. It was like seeing the last straw. Zhang Anfeng and Lin Yi looked at their daughter, who looked like a lunatic and almost didn't dare to recognize her. He quickly spoke out to comfort him, Xian, Mom will find a lawyer for you. Zhang Lingxuan's mood became more stable. The couple managed to comfort him a few more times, and then managed to coax him. But when I came out of the visiting room, I was told a piece of bad news: the evidence of your daughter's intentional homicide attempt is irrefutable. Now we only need a formal verdict, and there is no need to hire a lawyer. If you still have any doubts, you can. Parents don't have visitation rights. The couple suddenly felt like a bolt from the blue. Is there really no room for maneuver? They were answered with a firm shake of the head. No, before the law, everyone is equal, and no one has the right to despise the law. Please come here and sign it. Before the sentence is pronounced, if Zhang Lingxian interferes with official duties when he is emotionally excited, we have the right to use necessary means to calm her down. The couple. If you dare to call them over, they will be used as pacifiers and signed for prevention. Asterisk. No one would care if a few unimportant people were missing from a dinner party of hundreds of people. Farewell music played on the piano, and everyone left one after another with a bit of fatigue from a night of socializing. Zhang Kaiwen also wanted to say goodbye to Zhang Lingzi before leaving, but he couldn't find anyone after searching around, so he could only give up the idea with some regret. Zhang Lingzi, whom he was thinking about, was already standing in the parking lot, saying goodbye to Mr. Yuan Lao, Tong Yu, and others. By the way, Sister Tong, I remember you took a photo of my invitation card. That one Mr. Castle sent you. Zhang Lingzi nodded. Please give me a code and put it online. More than one person has mentioned this to her so far. She is tired of hearing it and is too lazy to explain it one by one. Tong Yu turned out to be even more excited than she was. I have wanted to do this for a long time, but I was afraid that you would think it was too high profile and I would reject it. Agree. I'll do it later. Well, go back and have a rest early. Zhang Lingzi waved to Lu Zhengzheng and the others again. You guys too. While the night owls on the internet were still discussing the just concluded Yuan's charity dinner, many people who followed Zhang Lingzi's account suddenly saw a new prompt. The Zhang Lingzi you follow has just posted a new update. Zhang Kaiwen was sitting in the nanny car and was hesitating whether to send an apology message to Zhang Lingzi. He had an intuition that when he was arguing with Senior Zhou, Zhang Lingzi might have been a little angry when he left. Until a pop-up appeared on the screen that the person he was paying special attention to had just posted a new update. He subconsciously clicked on it. Under Zhang Lingzi's account, the latest status only has one photo, and the content of the photo is quite familiar. He rubbed his eyes, enlarged the picture and looked at it carefully. Suddenly he wailed and covered his face with his hands. Another nanny car was also slowly driving away. Zhou Lingyu's assistant is asking Zhou Lingyu for instructions. Sister, would you like to ask teacher Zhang tonight if you want to go with us to this international fashion festival? How many people are there in his team? Zhou Lingyu's face turned cold. She almost exploded when she saw Zhang Kaiwen eagerly inviting Zhang Lingzi to be his female companion. Later, they almost had a quarrel, which made both of them unhappy. How could she remember to ask this question? Let Sister Zhuan communicate directly with his agent. She could no longer ask. Inside a luxury car with the Gu family crest printed on it. Assistant, Miss, Zhang Lingzi's account just released an invitation to an international fashion festival. Gu Jiantong swallowed the hangover tea in her mouth and chuckled. She knows how to choose the right time. Then I can't lose, right? Go back and find my invitation letter, take a photo and put it up. I'll buy some more traffic, by the way. It doesn't need to be much. As long as it can overcome her heat. If money can solve a problem, then how can it be a problem? Yes. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 600. Su Lingyan looked at Chang Ning, who appeared in front of him in confusion. She received a call from her sister early in the morning. Knowing that she was not going to take 2 days off to recuperate at home, but was going to go back to school directly, she told her to introduce a friend to her. She thought she would have to wait until school was over, at noon or evening, before she could see anyone. Unexpectedly, as soon as she went out, she saw someone already waiting outside. "I heard Sister 11 call you Anan. I'm 2 years older than you, so I'll call you Anan too." Chang Ning put his arm on Su Lingyan's arm quite familiarly and explained the reason why he came here without being asked. "It just so happens that I have nothing to do and am bored, so Sister 11 introduced me to this job and will take care of you." As soon as Su Lingyan opened his mouth, Chang Ning spoke up again with a smile. "I heard that the food in Huida's dining hall is not inferior to restaurants outside. Anan, all you need to do is provide me with 3 meals a day." Su Lingyan's intuition is that it's not that simple. Until they arrived at school, they were accompanied by Chang Ning after a morning of classes. The two of them came out of the classroom to eat in the cafeteria with their roommates. On the only way from the School of Computer Science to the cafeteria, a figure suddenly rushed straight in front of Su Lingyan against the flow of people. "Anan, Aunt please, Aunt kneels down for you. Can you let your cousin go? You see you can still have a good class. If you don't let go, your cousin's life will be ruined. My aunt promises you that as long as you are willing to reconcile, your uncle and I will send her far away and out of the country, ensuring that she will never bother you again. We are all one family, how can we get into trouble like this?" Su Lingyan was directly stunned by this wholesale output. "When I came back to my senses, I saw her with tears and nose running down her face. She no longer had the ladylike attitude she had when they met before. She even bent her knees and looked like she really wanted to kneel on the ground." Looking at the surrounding students who stopped because of this incident, some even took out their mobile phones to take photos and videos. Without caring about anything else, he quickly stretched out his hand to help. Lin Yi is her nominal elder after all, so she cannot really kneel down to a junior like her in front of everyone. But this time Lin Yi was really brave, and her husband was watching not far away. If the goal is not achieved and there is a daughter in jail in the family, let alone the husband who cannot hold his head high in the mall, any good daughter of a family would like to have a sister-in-law who is in jail, so the son's marriage will also be ruined. Seeing that Su Lingyan wouldn't let her kneel down, she gritted her teeth and was about to grit her teeth. The more miserable she was, the better. The wound on Su Lingyan's arm had only formed a thin layer of scab overnight. In the morning, Chang Ning took her to the infirmary to reapply medicine and replace it with a more breathable band-aid. This time, she applied nervous force and applied it close to her wrist. One of the cuts burst open. Chang Ning heard a soft hiss from behind him, and his pace suddenly accelerated a bit. Just when Lin Yi's knees were about to fall on the stone pavement, a hand grabbed her back collar and lifted her upright. Destiny's back collar was grabbed, and Lin Yi's words suddenly turned into "Ga." After her feet landed on the ground, she tried to kneel down, but was grabbed so hard that she couldn't kneel down. Then there was a sneer in her ears. Sister 11 is really good at predicting things. She guessed a long time ago that you two would find an opportunity to go directly to Anan to plead for mercy. Why, in front of so many people, do you still want to morally kidnap me? What a plan. The beads fell off my face. God. Lin Yi wanted to roll her eyes but couldn't. At least let her relax for a while. Don't worry, find a quiet place and have a good chat. If you do this, you will delay the meal of a good student. Onlookers, don't delay, don't delay. However, everyone was silent as they watched such a tall and slender girl lift a man who weighed more than 100 pounds with one hand, seemingly effortlessly. Zhang Anfeng stood behind a century-old tree not far away. Seeing his wife being interrupted by a nosy girl, he gritted his teeth in anger and kicked the tree trunk next to him. Being so close, Su Ling'an also heard Chang Ning's initial words to expose Lin Yi. Instant understanding. She said, "No matter what my sister does, there must be a deep meaning in it. This time I sent this young lady named Chang Ning over, taking care of her is only the second priority. I guessed that Lin Yi might directly find her as the victim, so that the main task was to destroy the moral kidnapping of Ms. Lin in front of her in public." Chang Ning grabbed Lin Yi, who was still struggling, and walked to a small pavilion in a nearby garden. By the way, he glanced in the direction where Zhang Anfeng was hiding. When Zhang Anfeng subconsciously retracted his head, he realized with an ugly face. Is it possible that this person can still find him when he is so far away? It shouldn't be. Su Ling'an followed Chang Ning, and the remaining two roommates looked at each other, then gritted their teeth and followed. First of all, they were naturally curious about what was going on, and secondly, the youngest didn't say not to let them follow. But the other onlookers were embarrassed to continue following. They clearly wanted to solve the problem privately, and they had not yet developed such a thick skin. Walking into the small pavilion hidden by green plants, Chang Ning simply let go of his hands and said, "You can kneel now. You can kneel as long as you want." Lin Yi's face turned purple from suppressing the pressure, but she didn't dare to glare at Chang Ning, for fear that the other party would reach out and grab her by the collar again. She could only cough and look at Su Ling'an with a pleading look on her face. "Anan, if you don't think about us, you have to think about your grandpa. He is so old and feels so uncomfortable now. I just need an understanding from you. A letter, just a letter of understanding is enough. Why are you such a hard-hearted girl?" She and her husband came here this time, betting that Su Ling'an was young and easy to be soft-hearted. Coupled with her unexpected plea, the probability of successfully obtaining the letter of understanding should not be low. However, he did not expect Zhang Lingzi to guess their plans first, and sent individuals to keep Su Ling'an. Being interrupted midway also greatly reduced the effect, but she still didn't want to and couldn't give up, so she could only use the old man to pressure her. But Su Ling'an had completely calmed down during the short walk to the pavilion, and he didn't want her sister's hard work to be in vain. When she saw Ms. Lin moving her grandfather out, her eyes did not move at all, and she replied coldly, "Yesterday I wanted to. It's not that my sister just happened to be video chatting with me and reminded me at the critical moment that I have been seriously injured by your daughter, and even, it's useless for you to say these things, and there is no need to use grandpa to pressure me. If you say you don't forgive, you will never forgive me. It's Zhang Lingxian who deserves the punishment. Aren't you afraid that if I post about you sending your cousin to jail on the internet, what will your teachers and classmates think of you? Then you can send it, well, but I'm usually busy studying and don't go online much anyway. And I believe that anyone who is sensible has a balance in their hearts about right and wrong. As for those who say that I am cruel because of family ties, I hope that one day they will be stabbed by the knife called family affection and see if it hurts. Just let them condemn it. I can't see it online, and I don't care even if it is said in person." Lin Yi met Su Ling'an's looking eyes and was in a trance for a moment, almost thinking that the person standing in front of her was Zhang Lingzi.